Morning everybody, it's Nick. I hope you're staying safe and well. I wanted to talk about work today actually for me. It's quite interesting, so I'm just in the throes of thinking about what I'd like to do next, particularly in the consulting arena, which is, I guess you'd call it my trade. One of the questions obviously get asked is, what do you do? And then there's the, are you a people person? And I find it really interesting that is effectively a question in its own right, because I would argue that every single one of us needs to be a people person, because everything is about people, and it doesn't matter what your focus is, whether it's performance management, program management, organisational development, process re-engineering, productivity, cost reduction, IT management and implementation, you name it. You could go through the whole array of consulting competencies. But everything is fundamentally about people, because people either make things work or they don't make things work. And there's the times that I've gone in to deliver or manage some kind of large-scale transformation and to put something in place to mend something that's broken. And the question is, well, how is it being managed in the meanwhile? And what have the people done? People have come up with workarounds, and they've come up with workarounds because their will to get it done is greater than the adversity of the thing that's broken. And yet here you are trying to implement something new which will supposedly make it easier, and they may well be resisting. So it's nothing to do with what your methodology is or your structure or the governance. It's actually to do with the fact you need to really understand what that conflict is. You need to understand where that resistance is coming from. So for me, fundamentally, everything's about people. And a really good example of this is, I remember one colleague who I worked with quite a while ago now, early on in my career. And I think it was a lesson that came to me later, actually. I probably didn't get it quite at the time. But they used to get really, really frustrated because it didn't seem to matter who they asked for certain things. They just didn't deliver them. Or they didn't deliver them in the way or to the standard that this particular person needed. And really, I remember thinking to myself, what's the common denominator here? And the common denominator was actually the person who was asking for this stuff. Because it didn't matter who they asked. It was never good enough, or it was never on time. And the problem was, this person was under enormous pressure. Right? They had a lot of pressures on them to deliver to very tight deadlines, some really quite complex stuff. And they were actually just literally pushing that pressure onto other people. So they weren't that nice when they asked them for stuff. They demanded, and they didn't have any real humility or empathy as to why that might be difficult for other people. There was just an expectation of, this is needed by this date, I am this person, do it. And that was really interesting, because that meant that actually the people weren't going to do it. And they weren't going to fall over themselves or pull out the stops. They were probably just going to, do the very minimum required. And that was a real lesson for me. And I think what would have been a far healthier approach, and I hope it is something we are learning now, although I would like to see it more in practice, is showing up with some vulnerability and some transparency and honesty, and having, respect for your fellow colleagues. So maybe when this person, replaying that scenario, maybe it wasn't about pushing their fear and angst onwards. Maybe it was about sharing it and saying, look, I'm really under pressure. This is, I'm feeling vulnerable. I'm in a pickle. I need some help. Can you help me? This is the position I'm in. This is what I need. How best can I go about getting this resolved? Maybe that would have been a far healthier and far more productive way forward, because at the heart of all of that, it's ultimately about just being human, right? So it doesn't matter what grade you are, it doesn't matter what function you are, it doesn't matter what part you are playing in this whole big jigsaw. It's always, first and foremost, we are human beings, and we should always treat each other as that. I remember my first consulting job, we weren't even allowed to put our job titles on our email, so nobody knew what grade you were. So if somebody emailed you from another part of the firm and you didn't know them, you didn't know whether you were talking to a partner or an analyst, because the ethos was very much, you respect somebody because they're a person, not because you think they're at a certain grade and therefore you have to play the part. And therefore I do find it interesting when people, I'm going through the process of it's quite a big reflection process really, about saying, big milestone for me, I'm 50 this year, so maybe this is me saying, what do I want to do? I've got probably 10, 15 years of work left in me, and how do I want to spend it? What kind of work do I want to do? What will really use all of my potential and be of most help to other people? So I am going through a bit of a, where do I really want to be positioning myself, and what kind of work do I want to be doing, as well as actually the reality of, what kind of work is available, and what am I qualified to do, and hopefully somewhere in the middle there is an answer. But I find it interesting. Everything is about people, and I would say I am very highly diagnostic and organised in lots of different ways, but I think the big thing I have learnt, and I absolutely pull through every single thing I do, is people. They are the people that will help you, they are the people that will make things happen, or not, as the case may, and they are always the part of the job that will either bring you joy or sadness. So interestingly, it's a separate question, because I don't think it should be, because we should all be people. Just some thoughts for today, and I hope that helps. Stay safe, take care, bye.